The first time I went to India, I was seeking God, quite frankly. Um, how does one approach God? It's almost as though we're already here. And there is a tradition that says God will. It requires grace. If you can approach God, but it's only upon the grace of God that you can get any sort of satisfaction there. So I went to Rishikesh, which is in the foothill of the Himalaya, because Shivananda Saraswati was there. And I went there I was hoping to live at that ashram. And I got there, and it was like 2 days before they were about to start a yoga retreat. And I was like, oh, I'm going to do it. And they said, no, no tourists, Indian nationals only. I was like, really? Well, you can go to yoga classes. You can go to the library. You can go to the kirtan hall. So anyway, it was kind of funny, but like whatever. So I went around, and my one buddy Mahesh, he found this ashram I could go to. So I went there, and I lived there for a little while, and it was pretty fun. My buddy Bishesh Puri, he was there. I mean, that's where I met him. He was a gay yogi. He never was hitting on me in any real way, but he was queer, and neat guy. In fact, I'm going to see if I can find him this coming couple years. His email address that he had, it only lasted like a year before it was no good. But it was kind of funny because tourists were staying there, and it was a proper little yogi place. So this one guy dressed in yellow, a student yogi, he complained to the higher ups, and they came and they changed it up. The head yogi there, when I was there, he was maybe in his late 30s, but he had lived there since he was 7 on this little compound. And he was in charge. He seemed happy, but like, dude's only real experiences was at this ashram. So after that I couldn't stay there, and time went on. I went elsewhere, here, there. I traveled around India. And then I was in Varanasi, a long ways away. Not close at all. And who should I run into but Bishesh Puri? Bishesh. So we got together, and I went out to, he was at an ashram outside the city a ways that was in large part supported by a family. And so I went out there, and basically if I wanted to smoke weed, I could live with a family. If I wanted to be a yogi and teach yoga to the locals, I could live at the ashram. And but it was pretty funny because we went to the house there, and they served me some food and some water, and Bishesh was like, don't drink the water. And of course, I knew better. But I was like, oh, well, okay. But we were standing around, and there was a TV show, one of the funniest TV shows ever, called Shaktiman. It was like you remember the old Doctor Who episodes that were so campy? It was like that, but it was a spiritual Superman. And it was pretty funny because he saves the lady from the demon, and then she's like, "Oh, Shaktiman." He's like, I don't know what they were saying, but basically my interpretation was like, "Lady, we're spiritual up in here." So then they sit for meditation, and then it's all this chakras and stuff like that. And by the way, much later I was back in Rishikesh, and this guy was wearing a Shaktiman shirt, and I wanted it so bad. I really should have just given him whatever he wanted for it, because I can't find one now. So funny to me. But I was out there, and we were at the house of the people supporting this ashram, and it was a Sunday, and there was all this bamboo growing, and I was like, "Oh, can I get a piece of this bamboo? I wanted a staff." And they said, "No, we don't cut any living thing on Sundays." And I was like, "Oh." And then they ended up giving me a staff of something they had cut before, and one of their strapping young males spun it in a terrifyingly skillful way, this staff, and then they gave it to me. And then they gave me a head of cauliflower from their garden. It was kind of funny. I ate it, but I mean, like, what a thing to give a person. Here's some cauliflower. Okay. We were on the roof, and they had a bunch of pigeons. And they said there's 70 people in their family, and there was one pigeon for each family member. Of course, it was just laughable, because how did they know how many pigeons they had? Like, exactly 70. No, they had a bunch, though. And it's funny because like that was years and years ago. That was like 15 years ago, almost 20 years ago. And it was just the other day I was thinking about it. You know, this is a family that was very, very successful, locally at least. Very, very, I mean, they had a very rich, um, well, in some sense, rich lifestyle, but also just rich family, you know? They made the Indian female drapes called saris. That's what they did, is they made silk saris there. They had big looms and stuff like that. And like I say, it was only the other day that I realized, you know, they don't cut things on Sunday. They have these pigeons for the love of it. I realized, you know what? Just to honor life, just to honor life. I don't think they were doing it as a as an exchange, like, oh hey, we'll honor life and life gives us opulence. But it seems that there may be a connection there. I mean, for some people, it's probably very obvious. You honor life and life honors you back. But for most of us, I think in America, you know, I think there's a disconnect between life and life, between a personal life and life as a whole. Like, life as a whole is resilient and will exist whether or not we attend to it. But it is a reciprocal thing. And, you know, it's just one of those things where how are we to honor life? How are we to create enjoyment for that which is so far beyond us?